Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Combinate Drugs and Devices. I'm your host, Subi Sadeh, and I've spent my whole career in drug delivery systems and combination products. In this series, we're covering all of the ICH-Q guidelines. Now we're going to be moving into ICH-Q3, which focuses on impurities. I will see you in the episode. So at its core, ICH-Q3 is about impurities, and impurities are the unintended substances that become present in a drug substance or a drug product. These are not your active ingredient. They're not your excipients that are there by design. They're essentially things that show up in your drug substance or drug product as a result of making products in the real world. So where do impurities? They can come from chemical reactions or degradation. They can come from manufacturing processes or your materials, or they can come from solvents, catalysts, equipment, and packaging. And ICH-Q3 was created to harmonize and solve that problem. It covers how you identify impurities. It covers how you qualify your product from a safety point of view. It covers how you establish the appropriate specification limit for when those impurities show up. And it covers the life cycle control over impurities throughout your product life cycle. In other words, no impurities isn't realistic, and therefore you need to have a risk-based control plan in place. We talked in the episode on Q1 about how Q1 consolidated a bunch of guidelines. Q3 is not consolidated. It's all in separate guidelines. Each section is different because the impurity source is different, and that's why it's structured the way that it is. So each Q3 section exists because there are different impurity sources that require different control strategies. Q3A is about understanding what impurities are created as part of you making the drug substance and deciding based on safety which ones need to be controlled and to what level. How tightly do you need to control them? Q3B moves downstream. Now we're talking about drug product. So even if your drug substance is clean, impurities can appear once you formulate it into the finished drug product, once you store it, once you package it. And this section addresses how the impurities are introduced and what form they take during the formulation, storage, or packaging. Also covers degradation that happens over the shelf life. It's a major focus in Q3B, which is why Q3B ties significantly to your stability studies and your finished product specifications. Q3C talks about residual solvents that are intentionally used during manufacturing or cleaning, but these aren't unexpected byproducts. They're known materials that may be there as residual. They're supposed to be at a low level. It doesn't matter why the solvent was used. What matters is how much is left. Q3D focuses on elemental impurities. In practical terms, we're mostly talking about metals here that come through, via equipment or materials used or contacted in the manufacturing process. And different from some of the organic impurities that we talked about previously, metals don't degrade or disappear over time. And because of that, Q3D is risk-based and driven by the route of administration of the product. And essentially different materials have different risks depending on how the product is used, given that it doesn't degrade. And finally, Q3E, which is in step 2. If you want to understand the steps, go check out the first episode that we did on ICH to understand what that means from a guideline development standpoint. But Q3E addresses extractables and leachables. And this is relevant for combination products and container systems that are complex because Q3E focuses on the chemicals that are extracted or migrate out of materials that contact the drug product. And the evaluation here is driven by the patient exposure, how long the material is in contact with the drug, the route of administration, and as with all of these, the emphasis is not on eliminating all risk, but on understanding and managing it. So Q3A through Q3 show consistent philosophy. Q3 doesn't try and treat all impurities like they're the same. Instead, it organizes the control for impurities around where those impurities come from, what they mean for patients. And that's what makes this guideline practical. Now, moving into how to read ICH Q3. So Q3A and Q3B are where you get the framework and the philosophy for drug substance and drug product. Q3A, like we said, explains how to think about impurities in the drug substance. Q3B goes into drug product. And these are the sections that, if you read them, you actually understand what the intent of the guideline is around the identification, qualification, setting the specification limits based on patient safety and risk. Q3C and Q3D are more reference driven, like we said, residual solvents and elemental impurities. In practice, these documents to essentially understand what limits are justifiable and understand what are the different assumptions that you have as far as exposure. They're really important to reference and understand expectations are for the elemental impurities and the residual solvents. Q3E, even though it's still in draft, is where the materials come into contact with the drug. And I think this is the most relevant for combination products, which we'll talk about a little bit. For combination products, Q3 applies for the drug constituent. Obviously, it speaks to the impurity control for the drug substance and the drug product, including the impurities that result from the contact materials. But obviously, it doesn't go into any kind of performance or functionality. And that's covered in things like design verification or other testing. ICH Q3E does significantly talk about devices, device components, drug delivery system, and the importance of the selection and the process for them is referenced throughout. Q3E has this diagram that speaks to the risk-based selection of components as it relates to ENL. So you pick your component and then you assess, does any individual component pose an unacceptable risk from an ENL standpoint based on your prior knowledge of the material or component? If it does pose an unacceptable risk, you go back to selection. If it's okay and the risk is acceptable, then you develop and perform your extractable studies on the individual components to look for target leachables and conduct a safety assessment. You develop your leachable method and you perform your studies. You evaluate if your drug product quality risk from the quality attributes and stability studies are acceptable. And then you can move into your quality assessment and, essentially figure out, is the product quality impacted by the leachables? If it's not, then the delivery component is acceptable from a quality perspective. No further assessment is required. AET stands for Analytical Evaluation Threshold, and this means if it's above, you can't ignore it, and that's why it tells you have to move into structural identification and risk assessment and so on and so forth. But if it's so small, then essentially it tells you you don't need to screen it any further. So I wanted to include this diagram because I thought it was really interesting. And the key message of the diagram is that Q3E is an iterative risk-based process. You don't need to automatically test everything. As you'll see with a lot of these ICH guidelines, you have to justify your decisions and focus your testing and execution where risk exists and stop, when both your product quality, as it talks about on the left side, and the patient safety is adequately understood and controlled. So with that, that is ICH Q3. I'll see you next week in the episode on ICH Q4.